Every Christmas Eve, the same woman walks into his castle and has no idea she's already died for him 99 times. He's an immortal Alpha King who remembers every life they shared, every kiss, every death, every goodbye. But the winter god stole her memories and turns their love into entertainment. On the 100th Christmas, she has to choose: take back a century of love and heartbreak that might shatter her mind, or walk away forever and leave his wolf howling for a mate who will never remember him. If you were her, would you choose peaceful ignorance or the brutal truth of 100 lifetimes with your soulmate? Chapter 1. Snow fell. It had been falling for an hour, covering the courtyard in white that would be gray by morning. Alpha King Darius Reed heard the first bell and checked his palm. The sigil there, silver lines forming a knot he'd stopped trying to understand decades ago, had started to warm. She was close. He could have waited inside. He never did. His wolf stirred beneath his skin, restless as it always was on Christmas Eve. After a century of this, even the beast had learned to anticipate her arrival. "She is coming," Orith said behind him. "You've told me that 99 times. This time is different. You say that too." Darius flexed his hand. The sigil burned hotter. His wolf pressed closer to the surface, wanting to pace. "Every year you say this is the year it breaks. Because eventually I'll be right." The seer's blind eyes tracked something Darius couldn't see. The 100th iteration ends a bargain. You know this. The gate opened. A carriage rolled through, and Darius's chest tightened the way it always did. Anticipation and grief braided so close he couldn't separate them anymore. She stepped down in a sweep of crimson cloak trimmed in white fur, and his wolf went absolutely still. Recognition, fierce and immediate, even though she wouldn't know him, wouldn't remember the lives where she'd run with him under winter moons, where she'd traced the silver in his eyes and wasn't afraid. This version wore her dark hair in a loose twist. This version was a duchess. Last time she'd been a healer. Before that, a thief. The details changed. The way his wolf knew her scent, pine and winter roses, never did. "Duchess Willow of Carthian," the guard announced. Darius walked forward, keeping his movements deliberately human, controlled. After a century, he knew how to hide what he was. Boots crunching on snow instead of paws, hands instead of claws. Their eyes met. Every Christmas, that first look cut him. Her gaze always caught on his eyes, the silver that marked him as wolf-born, with curiosity threaded with recognition she couldn't place. "Welcome to Avalon," he said. She curtsied. "You honor Carthian by inviting me, Alpha." The title made his wolf preen. She didn't know why she'd used it. Humans rarely remembered the old courtesies, but her instincts did. Her gloved hand settled on his arm when he offered it, and even through leather he felt the current that jumped between them. Her breath caught. His wolf rumbled, pleased. Good. Let her body remember, even if her mind wouldn't. "Have you visited before?" he asked, knowing she had, knowing she'd visited 99 times in 99 different ways. "Not like this. My father said your castle was carved from winter itself, that wolves built it with their teeth and claws." His mouth quirked, closer to the truth than she knew. Winter only borrowed it. The wolves just helped. She laughed, quick and genuine. The sound hooked into his ribs, and his wolf wanted to howl. Inside, the great hall blazed with candles and evergreen garlands. Members of his pack mingled with human nobles, his beta Tyrion near the hearth, his third Hannah serving wine with preternatural grace. They all knew what tonight was. They'd watched him endure 99 Christmas Eves. Some had been there for 50 of them. Darius kept his hand steady on Willow's arm, aware of every wolf eye tracking them with sympathy. "You came north for winter smite," he said. "Why?" She glanced at him sideways, and her gaze caught on his eyes again. Wolves had better night vision. His eyes reflected torchlight with a faint silver glow. Most humans found it unnerving. She looked fascinated. "Your letter felt familiar, as if I'd read it before." His pulse stumbled. "Have you?" "I would remember." Uncertainty flickered across her face. "Wouldn't I?" He swallowed the truth. "You've read it 99 times, and twice you recognized my handwriting before I signed it and said, 'Memory plays tricks in snow.'" The steward announced her. Applause rose. "Allow me the first dance," Darius said. Her fingers slid into his. "Will the North take offense if I refuse?" "Only the Alpha." He let his eyes flash silver deliberately. "And he is notoriously difficult when offended." This time her laugh held a spark. "Then let's keep his temper in check." The musician started a waltz. His hand settled at her waist, and heat rushed through him despite a century of practice. His wolf wanted to pull her closer, to bury his face in her neck and breathe her in until his lungs were full of her scent. Instead, he kept the proper distance. Barely. Willow's eyes widened. "Do we know each other?" she asked. "From before tonight?" His steps nearly faltered. "We're meeting for the first time." "Then why does this feel like remembering something I haven't lived yet? And why do your eyes?" She paused. "I've seen eyes like yours before, in dreams." His wolf went very still. She'd never said that before, never mentioned dreams. "Perhaps," he said carefully, "the night holds more than you expect." Around them the feast continued. By the third course, Willow had gone quiet, staring at details she shouldn't know. Darius watched her gaze catch on the vaulted ceiling, the far hearth, the tapestry showing wolves running beneath a full moon. Each time confusion crossed her face. She looked at Tyrion when he passed, and her brow furrowed. "Your eyes," she said. "They're like the Alphas." Tyrion smiled, careful not to show too much tooth. "A family trait, Your Grace." "How many of you are there?" "Enough," Darius said smoothly, before she could ask more questions. The pack numbered nearly 100, but most kept to the forests during formal events. "Come, you look ready to escape." He stood. She hesitated only a moment before taking his hand. They left through a side passage. The feast noise dropped to a murmur. "You have many people with silver eyes," she observed. "It runs in northern bloodlines." "And the way they move," she glanced back toward the hall, like they're always listening to something just beyond human hearing. His wolf tensed. She was noticing too much. In other lives, she'd been oblivious for hours. "Escaping your own celebration," she said, changing the subject. "Not very kingly." "You looked ready to climb the rafters." An image flashed behind her eyes. He saw it happen, saw her pupils dilate. Her, running along the beams, but not human. Running on 4 legs, gray fur, laughing in the way wolves laugh. But she'd never been wolf, never in any life. "Have I been here before?" she asked, voice shaking slightly. "Not as a duchess, not in this life." "This life." She stopped walking. "You talk like we're stories that get rewritten." "Some stories leave marks even after you scrape them clean." "Do you see marks when you look at me?" His jaw tightened. His wolf pushed forward, wanting to show her, to shift and let her see the truth in a way words couldn't capture. "More than I can name," he finally said. "Who was I to you?" He stopped at a window. Snow fell beyond the glass, softening the world. "You were a healer once. You set a broken bone in my wolf form when I was too injured to shift back. You weren't afraid. His mouth almost smiled. "You were a thief once. You tried to steal a relic from my treasury and got cornered by 3 of my pack. You faced them down with nothing but a knife and absolute conviction." Willow's throat went dry. The stories felt like dreams she'd forgotten. "You speak as if they were all me." They were. Different names sometimes, but always the same soul. My wolf knows you, even when you don't know yourself. I'm not challenging you. There, he turned to her. That tilt of your head, exactly that, the way a wolf would question its alpha. Heat crept up her neck. I'm not a wolf. No, he agreed. But maybe you should have been. She faced the window, needing cold air. Her reflection stared back, and behind her shoulder, his. For just a moment, she could have sworn she saw something else in the glass. A massive wolf with silver eyes standing where Darius stood. She blinked. Just a man again. "I keep feeling things that don't belong to me," she whispered, "like I left pieces of myself in these halls." He moved closer, not quite touching. "What do you feel now?" She closed her eyes. In her mind, she saw the courtyard layered with other nights, torches in different places, snow deeper, herself crossing it in armor, in rags, in silk, and in one life, on 4 legs, running. Impossible. Her throat tightened. "I feel like I've loved this place and hated it, run to it and from it, said goodbye in that snow." "You have." Silence. "Tell me why." "If I tell you everything, Hamai," he said, "you might break under memories that aren't yours yet. If I tell you nothing, they'll keep pulling at you." He paused. "I'm still deciding which is worse. You talk like I'm trapped." "You are. We both are." She turned sharply. They stood too close. She could see the scar through his eyebrow, the tiredness under his eyes, and that strange silver quality in his irises that seemed to swirl like liquid mercury. "What are you?" she whispered. His wolf surged. He pushed it down, but not before she saw his eyes flash brighter, more silver than human eyes should ever be. "Something that has loved you for 100 years, he said, "and will love you for 100 more, whether you remember me or not." "Then untie it," she said. "You're an alpha. Surely something obeys your command." "No god has ever obeyed me, especially not the one who did this." "Which god?" His mouth twisted. "You'll meet him soon enough." A chill ran down her spine. "I don't believe in curses," she lied. "Then let me bear the secrets alone tonight." He held out his hand. "There's a tower above this hall. Perhaps seeing will help more than hearing." She looked at his palm. A faint sigil glowed there like buried starlight. Her chest gave an answering throb. She placed her hand in his. Heat surged through her, not simple warmth, but recognition, fierce and immediate. Images flashed, her hand in his, stained with blood, her hand in his, ringed with gold, bound together before an altar. And one more, her hand, paw, pressed against his as they ran through snow under a full moon. Her knees dipped, his grip steadied instantly, strong enough that she felt the barely leashed power beneath his skin. "Ghosts," he whispered. "Show me your tower." Chapter 2. The staircase narrowed as they climbed. At the top, Darius pushed open an iron-bound door. The circular chamber beyond held shelves climbing to the ceiling, filled with ledgers marked by dates. A heavy table stood in the center with an open book and a glass sphere the size of a man's head. Willow moved to the shelves. The years stamped there were older than her grandfather. "War records?" she asked. "No, the record of a bargain." He laid his palm on the open ledger. The sigil in his skin flared, answering a glow in the paper. "The only ledger that matters." She came closer. The handwriting shimmered silver. At the top, 3 words. 100th Christmas Eve. "What is this?" A summary. The tower writes it. He lifted his hand. The sphere on the table brightened with internal light. Or the God who lives in the tower does. Images stirred inside the glass, distorted like reflections in water. Willow leaned in. A courtyard under snow. A woman in dented armor, ash-smeared, facing a younger Darius, but not entirely Darius. His form flickered, and for a moment a massive black wolf stood in his place, silver eyes blazing. "You promised you'd leave," the armored woman said. "They need you alive." "What am I without you?" The wolf's mouth didn't move, but the words came anyway. A king of ruin, an alpha without a pack. Fire raged behind them. Willow flinched. "What is this?" First life, before the bargain. The scene shifted. Another Willow in healer's robes, calmly stitching closed a wound on a wolf's flank, a wolf far too large to be natural. Another in simple wool, laughing as she raced beside a black wolf through snow, keeping pace impossibly. Another in the throne room, standing with her hand on the head of a massive wolf while arguing policy with shocked human lords. Each vision flickered past with Darius constant at the center, sometimes man, sometimes wolf, sometimes the moment between, watching her with that same fierce attention. "These are illusions," she said, "memories. Not mine. Yours. Ours." His eyes found hers, and they were fully silver now, no longer bothering to hide. "Every Christmas Eve, the God wins the world back to this castle this day. You arrive as a stranger with the same soul. I remember everything. You remember nothing. At midnight, he chooses how to end it. Death, forgetting, distance, every variation." Her heart hammered. Why? Because we begged him to. The candles leaned in as if listening. "In our first life," Darius said quietly, "my kingdom burned. Enemies on every border. Famine. Plague waiting. My pack was dying. Humans and wolves both. You saw how it would end. You went to the winter god and offered him your Christmas Eves, your memories of them. If he'd spare Avalon, if he'd spare me." The sphere swirled. A mountain shrine, a woman kneeling before frost-covered stone, offering something invisible cupped in her hands. Behind her, a black wolf lay dying in the snow, silver eyes dimming. "What did he take?" Willow whispered. "Everything that touched this night. He bound them to himself, to play and replay until—" Bitterness edged his voice. "Until something satisfied him. He left me outside the bargain. The memories needed a witness. The alpha needed to remember what he'd lost. I wouldn't do that. For my life, for this kingdom, for my pack, wolves and humans both. For children you'd delivered, farmers who'd fed you, soldiers you couldn't bear to bury." He paused. "You didn't hesitate." She searched for denial and found only a hollow ache. She knew, deep down, she would have done exactly that. "So every Christmas I come back. Yes. Different but the same. Yes. And you," her voice thinned, "you fall in love with me again." "I never stopped. Neither did my wolf. It knows you, Willow. It's known you for a century, even when you look at me like I'm a stranger." She turned away, arms wrapping around herself. "You talk about 100 lives like they're stories on your shelf. You're not ink to me." His steps approached but stopped short. "You're the only constant in a century of rewrites, the only one my wolf has ever chosen as mate." The word hung between them. Mate. Not wife, not lover. Something deeper, older, wilder. What happens tonight? The bargain ends. On the 100th Christmas, the god relinquishes his hold. If you choose to take yourself back, if you choose memory, everything returns. Every life, every death, every goodbye. You'll be whole and carrying the weight of 100 winters. If I refuse? He keeps his toy. Your soul goes on without me, without this place, without any trace of what we had. The world rearranges so we never met." He paused. "I'll still remember. My wolf will still know you're out there, forever beyond reach." "Only you?" "Someone must. You insisted on it." The weight pressed down on her shoulders. 100 lifetimes of memory, or walking away in ignorance, never knowing why his eyes felt like home. "I have to decide tonight," she realized, without remembering the choice I made in the first place. The god finds that amusing. "Do you?" His gaze searched hers, and she saw both man and wolf looking back. "I prefer your freedom. The choice must be yours. You brought me here. You showed me this. That's influence." "Then I won't say another word until midnight." He stepped back. "Ask what you will, or ask nothing. When the bells toll, the god will appear. Only you can answer him." She stared at the sphere where fragments of her lives rose and sank like fireflies in glass. In one she was running. 4 legs, gray fur, a black wolf racing beside her. "I can't think in this room." "Then let me show you the castle you loved and hated. Perhaps the stones will speak where I shouldn't." He moved to the door and held it open. She could demand he take her back to the feast, back to shallow politics and wine. Instead, she stepped past him onto the stairs. Chapter 3. He led her through passages away from the celebration, a side chapel with faded saints painted on the walls, a balcony over the snow-covered training yard where she could see tracks, human boot prints mingling with massive paw prints too large for any natural wolf. "Your pack train's here," she said. It wasn't a question. "Yes." "How many are there?" "Nearly 100. Most keep to the forest during formal events. Humans get nervous." "I'm not nervous." His wolf rumbled approval. "I know." They moved to a gallery above the great hall. Below, dancers spun through a reel, and she could pick them out now, the ones who moved too gracefully, whose eyes flashed silver in the firelight, who seemed to hear conversations from across the room. "How many of them are like you?" she asked. "About half. And they all know. About us. About the curse. They've watched me endure it for decades, some of them longer than others. Wolves live longer than humans. We age slower." She looked at him, really looked. "How old are you?" "In truth? 237. In appearance?" He gestured at himself. "Whatever you see, you don't look old. Wolves rarely do. We age until we're in our prime, then we just stay there for a long time. And me. You're human. You've always been human. You age normally, live a normal span. Then you return on Christmas Eve, another life, another version." Her throat tightened. "So I've died 99 times. "Not always." His voice went rough. "Sometimes the god just takes you, erases you from the board and resets. Sometimes you walk away and live a full life elsewhere, and I hear about it years later through merchants and travelers. Those are the worst ones." She didn't know what to say to that. "Are there places where I was happy?" she asked. His expression softened. "Yes." "Show me." Chapter 4. They came to a small terrace, half sheltered by an overhang. A single evergreen grew from a stone planter. Its branches hung with ribbons. A bench sat against the wall, dusted with snow. "I know this place," Willow said immediately. "You favored it. You once told me the snow here sounded softer, that you could hear the wolves singing in the forests beyond the walls." She listened. The flakes did land more gently, and beyond the city, faint and distant, she heard it, howling, multiple voices harmonizing in the way wolves do. "They're singing," she whispered. "They sing every Christmas Eve, for you, a mourning song." Her eyes burned. for someone they've never met. They've met you. Different versions, different years. You treated their wounds, defended their right to exist, argued for laws to protect them. In one life, you were the first human in a century to request permission to run with the pack. His voice dropped. My wolf let you ride on its back through the winter forest. You laughed the entire time. She closed her eyes and could almost feel it. Wind in her hair, powerful muscles bunching beneath her, snow flying past in a blur. If I close my eyes, she said, I can feel warm fur under my hands. Mulled wine, too, he said gently. You always argued that I watered it. A small smile curved her mouth. Did you? Of course. My people can't afford an alpha who falls off terraces. The smile reached her eyes, then faded. What else? Once, on this terrace, you told me you'd marry me. You were furious, called me pig-headed and impossible. I don't remember. You caught my cloak on a nail and tore it. Twice. Amusement sparked. That sounds right. In another life, he said quietly. You said goodbye here. You knew you'd forget me by dawn. You asked to see my wolf one last time. I shifted for you, and you buried your hands in my fur and cried. Heat flooded her cheeks and eyes. That other Willow rose in her mind, angry, desperate, defiant. She recognized that woman. Did you let me? She whispered. Let you what? Did you let me say goodbye? Did you shift? His throat moved. Every time you asked. Her heart hammered. The air between them seemed to tighten. She became aware of his nearness, the warmth he gave off, the way his eyes had gone fully silver in the darkness, the sense that something large and powerful was coiled just beneath his skin. Do you want to see now? He asked, voice low. My wolf wants to show you, to let you remember in a way words can't manage. Part of her wanted to say yes, to see the truth of him without human masks. Another part recoiled at the enormity of it, at accepting that the world contained wolves, the size of horses and gods who played with human lives, and curses that lasted a century. I don't know you, she whispered. Not truly. His jaw flexed. That's the only mercy the god has given us. Mercy? If you remembered everything without choosing it, you'd drown. At least this way, you have tonight, clean. You feel the pull, but you're not bound by it. You can still say no. To you, to all of it, to me, to my wolf, to the pack that would welcome you as Alpha's mate. Wind swept the terrace. She shivered. I'm already bound, she said quietly. I have been since I stepped through your gate. He inhaled as if to argue, then exhaled slowly. Then let me give you something that belongs only to this life. He shrugged off his heavy cloak and settled it around her shoulders. The fur enveloped her in warmth, and his scent, leather, pine, smoke, and something wilder, something wolf. His hands lingered at her collarbones, and she realized his fingers were warmer than they should be, almost feverish, wolf temperature, running hotter than human. This Christmas Eve is he murmured, not the gods, not the past's. Whatever you choose, I want you to have one memory that's only tonight. What if I forget? Then I'll remember for both of us, my wolf and I. We always have. She searched his face for manipulation. What she saw was rawness that frightened her, not because it threatened her safety, but because it threatened her resolve. I'm not ready, she said, for what you're offering. He nodded, stepping back. Then I won't ask again. A small pain lanced through her at that. They stayed until the cold bit through her boots. The sky deepened to black, stars pricking through clouds. The wolf song in the distance grew louder, more urgent. They know, Darius said. The pack. They can feel midnight coming. How long? She asked. A little more than an hour. Until I decide. Until he arrives. You can decide whenever your heart can bear it. She nodded. Then I want to use the time we have. To do what? To see your people, not from a balcony, in the streets. I want to know what I bought with my sacrifice, wolves and humans both. His brows lifted. You want to walk the streets an hour before a god comes to weigh your soul. Yes. He studied her, then laughed, almost like the man he might have been without divine interference. Of course you do. He offered his hand. She took it. Chapter 5. They slipped out a postern gate. Guards, human and wolf-born both, pretended not to see. The city smelled of bread and smoke and candied nuts. Lanterns glowed in windows. Children chased each other through snow, breath puffing white. Some of them had silver glints in their eyes. A woman sang while stirring a pot over a brazier. When she turned, Willow saw the silver in her gaze too. She smiled at Darius with the easy familiarity of pack. They're everywhere, Willow said softly. You're wolves. Living beside humans, working with them, protecting them. He nodded toward a blacksmith shop where a massive man hammered iron with supernatural strength. We've been part of this kingdom for centuries. You made sure of that. In the first life, humans were burning us in the forests. You stood between them and gave my pack sanctuary. Her chest tightened. They stopped near a crooked tree where a boy added a pine cone to the branches. When he caught sight of Darius, his eyes flashed silver bright before he controlled them. He grinned and darted back to his parents, a human woman and a wolf-born man. Mixed families, Willow observed, more common than not now. You helped make that possible. You argued that wolf-born children deserved the same protections as human children, that mixed marriages were legal and binding. And people listened? Eventually. You were very persuasive. In 3 different lives. She bumped his shoulder. You make me sound like a crusader. You were, are, will be. He smiled. My pack has been waiting a century for you to come back and remember them. A baker pressed a warm twist into her hand for luck, without recognizing her. A group of older women, mix of human and wolf-born, beckoned them to share spiced cider. Darius accepted, his fingers brushing hers when he passed her the cup. The world felt stubbornly real here. Children laughed, fires burned, wolves and humans shared tables and conversation. None of it cared about curses. Willow held the cup to her lips and thought fiercely, remember this. If I walk away tonight, she said softly, will they still be safe? Yes, she glanced at him. You're sure? The bargain was never conditional on your future choices. You paid in advance. The kingdom is secure regardless. Humans and wolves both. Relief and anger tangled in her chest. Then the only thing at stake is us, and your pack losing their alpha's mate. Don't pretend you're a small piece, he said quietly. The god built a century around your heart, and my wolf has been howling for you every Christmas Eve, knowing you can't hear. Church bells began to ring. Another joined, then another, overlapping chimes rippling through the city. In the distance, the wolf song rose to match them. They're calling midnight, Darius said, both bells and wolves. They made their way back in silence. By the time they reached the courtyard, the bells were counting in earnest, reverberating through stone. Snow fell heavier, blanketing the flagstones. Shadows moved at the edges of the courtyard, wolves emerging from the darkness. His pack, coming to witness. Massive forms with silver eyes, watching with an intelligence that was decidedly not animal. They want to be here, Darius said. At the end, they've waited as long as I have. Her heart pounded. She turned to him. If I choose to remember, do you swear you won't lie about what you were, what I was, what we were to each other? I swear, on my life and my wolf and every member of my pack. And if I choose to forget, his jaw tightened, then I'll let you go. My wolf will howl for you, but I won't chase you across another 100 winters. You won't? The bargain ends tonight. If you send me out of your life, I won't take that choice from you. He glanced at the watching wolves. Even if it kills us both. She wanted to ask how he could bear it, but the bells were swelling toward their final crash, and the air was changing. The snow slowed, not falling gently, but slowing. Flakes hung suspended above the stones. Torch flames froze mid-flicker. Sound thinned, the bells stretching into a high, strange note. The wolves went absolutely still, not even breathing. Is this? Yes, Darius said. His hand found hers. Behind them, she heard the soft sound of claws on stone as the pack moved closer, forming a protective circle. He's coming. Across the courtyard, frost spread upward from the ground in branching patterns, forming an archway where no door stood. Beyond it, darkness gathered. Not absence of light, but presence that leaned forward, curious. When it spoke, the voice came from everywhere. Little mortal, the winter god said, cold amusement threading through the words. Have you enjoyed my story? Willow's fingers dug into Darius's hand. Behind her, she heard a low, warning growl from one of the wolves. For a heartbeat, she considered hiding behind him, behind the alpha and his pack. Instead, she stepped forward. I'm tired of being your story, she said, voice shaking but audible. Tonight, you'll listen to mine. The frost archway brightened as if the god were smiling. Then speak, Willow, the cold purred, and choose. Chapter 6. The cold pressed closer without touching. Her breath froze a handspan from her lips and drifted down like powdered glass. Behind her, the wolves shifted restlessly, but none broke the frozen moment. You bartered with me once, the god said, on your knees in the snow, begging for a kingdom you didn't own, for wolves you'd barely met, for an alpha who would have died with honor. Do you regret it? I can't regret what I don't remember. Ah, that can be arranged. The ice archway widened. Within the dark aperture, pale light shimmered and swirled. I offer you your memory, the god said. Every Christmas Eve you've lived and lost. Every promise, betrayal, kiss, and death. Every time you ran with wolves under the moon. Every time you stood as Alpha's mate before his pack. Take them back, and my claim ends. And the price? None. You already paid. Think of it as returning stolen property. She didn't trust the ease. If I refuse, then I keep my toy. Frost crept farther. You'll walk from here with a clean soul in mind, free to fill your days as you please. You'll never be drawn to this place by dreams you can't name. Never wake with silver eyes watching from shadows. You won't remember him, or his wolf, or the pack that would have been yours. Behind her, Darius flinched. Someone whined, soft, pained, distinctly canine. The god's attention slid to him with lazy disdain. I keep your alpha as my witness. He remembers whether anyone wants him to or not, and his wolf will howl for a mate he can never have. Willow's pulse pounded. The choices stood stark, whole but weighted, with a century of grief, unburdened, but hollowed in a place she could no longer reach, and leaving an entire pack to mourn. Tell me the truth, she said. If I take them back, will they break me? For a time, the god said, almost kindly. You'll stagger beneath lives not meant to sit side by side. You'll weep over children who never shared a cradle, deaths that never happened in the same world. You'll remember running on 4 legs when you've never been wolf. Remember the weight of a pack bond you've never truly held. Some who've taken this bargain crumbled, others adapted. And if I walk away, then you live one life, simple, linear, human. You'll love and laugh and fear in ordinary ways. Instead of along the spine of a myth, you'll never know what it means to be chosen by a wolf as mate. The voice thinned. You'll bore me, but you'll be at peace. Behind her, Darius spoke. Willow. Her name in his mouth, in both their mouths, man and wolf steadied her. She turned her head slightly. Don't look at me, he said quietly. His eyes blazed full silver now, no longer hiding. Look at what you want. If peace is it, take it. I've survived a century with ghosts. I can manage a lifetime more. My wolf will survive too. A lie. She heard it in the way his voice cracked. Her chest ached. You say that like you don't care. I care enough not to sway you. Last time you begged me not to speak at all. You said you needed one decision that was entirely yours. What did I choose then? His throat moved. You chose to forget. The words cut. Around them the frozen wolves whined softly. And you. I chose to remember. I was never given another option. Neither was my pack, the god chuckled, frost ringing like glass. He wears his devotion like a chain, doesn't he? And his wolves carry it too. A century of mourning for a mate who never stays. Willow ignored the god. Did I regret it? Forgetting? Not that night. You drank, laughed, made me dance badly in the snow. You fell asleep by the hearth with my cloak around you. My wolf curled beside you in the warmth. After, his eyes darkened. You didn't wake with a memory of me to regret. You left at dawn and never looked back. Silence settled thick as the suspended snow. She turned back to the frost arch. You took my choices once. I gave you my Eves to save his people, wolves and humans both. You twisted that into a cage. I spun it into art, the god corrected. There's a difference. Not from where I stand. She closed her eyes. Behind her lids, the tower's visions unfurled. Herself in 100 guises, always walking toward the same man, running beside a black wolf, standing before a pack with her hand raised in blessing, laughing as powerful jaws gently closed around her wrist in the wolf's version of a kiss. Her heart lurched with longing older than her bones. She tried to imagine waking tomorrow with no pull toward the north, no ache when wolves howled, no dreams of silver eyes watching from shadows. The thought didn't soothe her. It left her cold and hollow, because beneath the fear, part of her wanted to be as large as the story the god had built, to step into it with eyes open, to claim every version of herself and stand before a pack as mate to their alpha. She might drown, but at least she'd drown as herself. I won't be your toy anymore, she said. The god hummed. So you take the memories? Yes, not as a favor, as restitution. You've gorged yourself on my lives for 100 years. I'm taking them back. Bold, painful. I've lived through pain before, apparently many times. She stepped forward. Behind her, Darius made a sound, half gasp, half growl, but his promise held him still. Willow, he began. She glanced back over her shoulder. The pack watched with blazing silver eyes, absolutely silent. If I come apart, she said, catch me, all of you. Darius's expression cracked. Always. Around him, wolves dipped their heads in agreement, a promise. She faced the arch and crossed the frozen stone. The moment she passed under, the world dropped away. No ground, no sky, only roaring whiteness full of shapes and sounds that slammed into her like a tide. Herself in armor, flinging a broken sword at his feet, herself binding wounds on massive wolves, herself laughing in a tavern, hand in his hair, herself old, silver-haired, fingers buried in black fur as they watch snow fall, herself running, 4 legs that weren't hers but felt right, gray fur, a black wolf racing beside her, and joy, pure, wild, impossible joy. Lives piled on lives, crowned and shackled, riding at his side, watching him leave, standing before his pack and feeling their bond settle into her bones like she'd always belonged. Every choice, every joy, every terror hit in succession. Each version carried different scars, but the same stubborn will, the same certainty that wolves and humans deserved to live side by side, that this alpha was hers, and she was his. For a heartbeat, 2, 3, she felt herself tearing. There weren't enough space inside for all these selves, then something deep and quiet reached out and gathered them in. Mine, it said, all of it, every version, every life, every moment with him and his pack. The roaring softened, the whiteness dimmed. Willow's knees struck stone. The snow, freed from its paws, fell in a soft rush. She gasped, dragging in air that tasted of torches and winter and wolf. Arms closed around her, human arms, but fever-hot. Darius's chest was solid against her cheek, his heart hammering. Behind him she heard wolves pressing close, warm bodies forming a wall of fur and heat. "Willow," he said, rough with relief and dread. "Are you—" She laughed. It broke on a sob halfway, but it was still a laugh. "Don't ask if I remember you," she managed, fingers bunching in his shirt. Around them, wolves whined anxiously. "I remember all of you, every ridiculous version, man and wolf, and your pack," her voice cracked. "I remember every one of them." He went very still. All. Every ill-advised kiss, every argument, every time you tried to push me away for my own good, every time your wolf let me bury my hands in its fur, every time I stood before your pack and felt them accept me. She pulled back to see his face. He looked terrified. "You're infuriating in every century, both of you." His arms tightened. Around them, the wolves began to stir, tails starting to move. "Then you know what you've done, what you chose." "Of course." She looked past him to the watching pack, massive wolves with silver eyes, all focused on her with an intensity that would have frightened her an hour ago. Now she recognized it. Hope. "I chose to be whole. I chose to stop letting that creature decide which pieces of me I'm allowed to keep." Her head throbbed with too many memories. Underneath, fierce clarity burned. "What did he say?" she asked. "When I stepped out." The god's voice rolled through the courtyard, thinner now, farther away. "Very well, little mortal. Keep your tangled skein. My game here ends. Enjoy your wait." Frost began to recede, cracking and melting in steaming rivulets. The archway shrank until nothing remained but ordinary darkness. "You won't interfere again," Willow said. A final breath of icy amusement brushed her ear. "I have other winters, other stories. This one has played itself out." Then the presence was gone. The last frozen torch flame leapt back to normal. The bells finished their toll. Midnight passed. For the first time in 100 years, the world didn't rewind. The moment it did, the pack erupted. Wolves surged forward, not threatening but celebrating. Massive bodies pressing close, cold noses nudging her hands, rumbling sounds of joy vibrating through the courtyard. Willow found herself surrounded by fur and heat and wolves twice her size, all trying to touch her at once. She laughed, overwhelmed, and reached out to bury her hands in the nearest wolf's ruff. The touch unlocked something, a memory of doing exactly this, 100 times, in 100 ways. "I remember you," she whispered to the gray wolf pressing against her side. "Hannah, you brought me tea in year 43 when I couldn't stop crying." The wolf made a sound, half whine, half joy, and licked her face. Another pressed close, darker fur with a white blaze on its chest. "Tyrion, you taught me to track in the snow. You were very patient." He huffed, tail wagging despite his size. Darius stood back, watching her reunite with his pack. When she looked up at him, tears streaming down her face, his expression was raw. "They've been waiting," he said, "a century of waiting for their alpha's mate to come home." She pushed through the wolves to reach him. They parted reluctantly, though several kept close. "Then I'm home," she said. "Finally." She took his face in both hands. "I don't deserve you." "You paid for me with a century of your life," he said. "For me and my pack, and every wolf, and human, and this kingdom. I think we're even." She kissed him, hard and quick. Around them, wolves yipped and howled approval. When she stepped back, she was grinning despite the tears. "This is wrong." Fear flashed across his face. "If it hurts, not that." She gestured at the celebrating wolves. "It's wrong that my first act with all my selves returned is to collapse in your arms while your pack watches." He blinked. "In at least 12 lives I met you standing. In 3, sword to sword. In one unfortunate version, I met you while stealing your boots, and your wolf tried to eat me." "He wouldn't have actually eaten you," Darius protested. He seemed very committed to the idea. Despite everything, he laughed. She straightened, legs wobbling but holding. "I'll need time to sort it all, to remember which things happened to this body and which belong to the others. I'll answer any question, even if it damns me. It will, often." He didn't flinch. "Then I'll stand there and let it." The wolves pressed closer, and she realized what they were asking without words. Permission, acknowledgement. She'd stood before this pack as Alpha's mate in 7 different lives. She knew what they needed. Willow raised her voice so all could hear, wolves, and the few humans who'd crept out to watch. "I remember you, all of you, every kindness, every moment of acceptance, every time you welcomed a human into your midst because I asked it of you." The wolves went absolutely still. "I don't know how to be what you need," she admitted. "Not yet. I'm carrying 100 lifetimes and still learning which one is now. But I'm here, I'm staying, and I swear to you," her voice strengthened, "I swear I'll stand beside your alpha. I'll fight for this pack, for all of you." For a moment, nothing moved. Then the largest wolf, nearly the size of a horse, fur so black it seemed to drink the torchlight, separated from the pack. Willow's breath caught. Not Darius. She'd know Darius's wolf anywhere. This was someone else, someone older. The wolf moved with an authority that made even the alpha's presence feel muted. Orith, the seer. She remembered now. He'd been wolf-born before the magic burned through him and took his eyes. But in wolf form, he could still see, after a fashion. The massive wolf approached until he stood directly in front of her. His eyes weren't silver like the others. They were pale as milk, blind even in this form. But they fixed on her with an intensity that suggested he saw far more than shapes. He lowered his great head and pressed his nose to her palm. The courtyard held its breath. Then Orith stepped back and howled, a long, soaring note that spoke of endings and beginnings, of losses mourned and joys reclaimed. The pack answered. Every wolf lifted their voice, and the sound shook snow from the castle walls. Humans who'd been watching from windows appeared in doorways, adding their voices, not howling, but cheering, crying, laughing. Willow stood in the center of it, Darius's arm around her waist, surrounded by wolves and humans both, and felt something settle into place. Not just memories, something deeper. Pack bond, mate bond, home. When the howling finally died down, Darius leaned close to her ear. Well, Alpha's mate. What now? She looked up at him, then around at the wolves still pressed close, at the humans watching from doorways, at the castle that had been her prison and her sanctuary in 100 different ways. Now, she said, I want to see your wolf. He went very still. Are you sure? I've seen him 100 times. Let me see him this time. The first time that I'll remember tomorrow. Around them, the pack drew back slightly, giving space. Darius looked at her for a long moment, searching her face. Then he smiled, wild and fierce and free. As you wish. The shift happened faster than human eyes could follow. One moment, a man stood before her. The next, a massive black wolf with eyes like molten silver. He was enormous, larger than any of the others, powerful in a way that spoke of both his age and his position. His fur was winter night dark except for a splash of silver white across his chest, directly over his heart. The same place the sigil glowed on his human palm. Willow had seen this wolf 100 times, had run beside him, ridden on his back, fallen asleep in his fur, said goodbye with her hands buried in his ruff. But this was the first time she'd see him and remember tomorrow. She stepped forward slowly. The wolf watched her approach, absolutely still, except for the tip of his tail, the slightest movement. Nervous. After a century, still nervous. She reached out and laid her palm against his chest, over that silver-white mark. His fur was impossibly soft, and the heat radiating from him was fierce. There you are, she whispered, both of you. The wolf made a sound, low, rumbling, pleased. Then he did something that made the watching pack murmur. He rolled his head forward and pressed his forehead against hers, the way wolves greet their mates. Willow closed her eyes and felt the connection snap into place. Not the curse, not the god's magic, but something older and truer. The bond between wolf and mate, alpha and chosen. When she opened her eyes, the wolf was watching her with an intensity that stole her breath. I love you, she said. I've loved you 100 times, and I'll love you in this life too. Both of you. The wolf's tail began to wag, just slightly at first, then with more enthusiasm. Despite his size and power and alpha authority, he looked almost puppyish in his joy. The pack started howling again, and this time humans joined in with their own shouts. Someone started playing a fiddle. Others began to dance. Christmas was over. Midnight had passed. But the celebration was just beginning. Chapter 7. 3 days later, Willow woke with a splitting headache and couldn't remember which lifetime had breakfast in bed and which considered it an insult to the kitchen staff. She sat up. Dawnlight slanted through windows she knew from 4 different lives: prisoner, queen, healer, mate. Someone knocked. Come in, she said, then added, please. Darius entered with a tray. He looked tired, shadows under his eyes, hair uncombed. He'd probably been awake since before dawn, worrying. A massive black wolf followed him in, moving with the casual ease of a creature who belonged. Is that Tyrion? Darius said. He's appointed himself your guard. I can send him away if... No. She reached out, and the wolf immediately came to press his head under her hand. I remember. He did this before, in year 62. The wolf's tail wagged. You look terrible, she said to Darius. Good morning to you, too. He set the tray down. Orith said the headaches would last a week. Orith can... She stopped. Never mind. I yelled at him about that in year 73 already. Darius sat on the edge of the bed, careful not to jostle her. Tyrion settled on the floor nearby, a warm, watchful presence. Which ones are loudest today? She closed her eyes. The fighter, the healer, the one who married you, the one who ran with your pack. She opened them again. They're all angry at different things. Understandable. The thief thinks this is hilarious. A smile tugged at his mouth. She would. Willow reached for the tea. Her hand shook slightly, but she managed. The taste was familiar, strong with honey. He'd remembered. Of course he had. He'd made it 99 times. I'm sorry, she said. He frowned. For what? For not being easier. For being 100 women at once, and none of them sure how to be just one. I don't want you simpler. He caught her free hand. I want you whole. My wolf wants you whole, even if whole is messy. Tyrion made a sound of agreement from the floor. Her throat tightened. You say that now. I'll say it tomorrow, too, and the day after. He squeezed her fingers. I have time now, remember? We both do. She set down the tea and leaned into him. He wrapped an arm around her, solid and warm. Tyrion shifted closer until his body pressed against the side of the bed. The one who was queen, she said quietly. She loved you so much, it scared her. I know. I was there. The one who ran with your pack. She felt free for the first time in her life. She wanted to be wolf so badly it hurt. I remember. My wolf wanted to give that to her. Could you give me that? He pulled back to look at her. What do you mean? Could you make me wolf? Is that possible? His expression went complicated. Technically, yes. A bite from an alpha. If the human is willing, if the moon is right, if... He shook his head. But it's dangerous. It doesn't always take. And even if it does, you'd be bound to the pack forever. To me and my wolf forever. No going back. I remember being bound to you, she said. In 7 different lives. It never felt like a cage. Willow. I'm not asking now, she said quickly. I can barely sort out one body's memories, let alone learn a new form. But someday, if I want it, would you? He studied her face for a long moment. If you want it. If you're sure. If you understand what you're asking. He touched her cheek. Then yes, my wolf would be honored to make you pack in truth. Tyrion lifted his head and made a sound of approval. Good to know the pack supports the idea, she said dryly. The wolf's tail thumped against the floor. A knock interrupted them. This time, Orith didn't wait for permission. He swept in, robes trailing. But he wasn't alone. A smaller wolf followed him, gray-furred with intelligent amber eyes. Hannah, Willow said immediately. The wolf's tail began to wag. She bounded over and placed her paws on the edge of the bed, clearly wanting permission. Come here, Willow laughed. Hannah jumped up, careful despite her size, and pressed close. Willow buried her fingers in her fur. You're still intact, Orith observed, addressing Willow. Good. I wagered Darius 3 gold marks you wouldn't shatter. You bet on me. I bet for you. Darius was convinced you'd need a month in bed recovering. I said you'd be arguing with him inside a week. Darius sighed. You're not helping. I'm not trying to. Orith moved to the window and opened it. Cold air rushed in. The Duchess's people sent word. They're wondering when she plans to return to Carthien. Willow's stomach dropped. Right, she had a duchy. People depending on her. Responsibilities that had nothing to do with curses or wolves or alpha mates. I should go back, she said slowly. At least for a while. They need... You, Darius interrupted. They need you. Not the Duchess who left a week ago, but you. Whoever you are now. She looked at him. I don't know who that is yet. Then go find out. He said it simply, like it didn't cost him. I'm not keeping you in a tower. I did that in year 36. It went badly. Despite everything, she laughed. How badly? You convinced the guards to mutiny and lock me in the wine cellar. Orith made a sound that might have been a cough or a laugh. That was a good year. Hannah's body shook, with what was definitely wolf laughter. Willow stood, legs steadier than yesterday. The room tilted slightly, but she was managing. I'll go back, she said, for a month, maybe 2, sort out trade agreements, make sure my steward hasn't sold the duchy for a horse. A good horse? Darius asked. A mediocre one, probably. She turned to face him fully. But I'm coming back. We're not done. We're not even started, he said. Exactly. Orith cleared his throat. If you're both finished being sickeningly devoted, there's the matter of explaining to your court why their alpha disappeared for 3 days with a foreign duchess and emerged looking like he'd fought a war. Darius grimaced. Can we tell them the truth? That you've been cursed for a century by a winter god who turned your love life into entertainment. Orith tilted his head. I'm sure that will go over well. We'll think of something, Willow said. She moved to the wardrobe. Her clothes from the carriage were there, cleaned and pressed. Tyrion and Hannah both stood when she did, flanking her like guards. I'm taking them with me, she announced. Darius blinked. To Carthian? I'm apparently Alpha's mate now. Don't I get pack members to boss around? Tyrion's tail wagged. Hannah made a sound that might have been agreement. You can't just, Darius started, then stopped at her expression. You absolutely can. You're already terrifying. I learned from the best. In year 54, you stared down an entire rival pack with nothing but force of will. They were threatening you, he said. My wolf wasn't going to let that stand. Well, now I have wolves of my own to take south. She pulled out a traveling dress. 1 month, 2 at most. Then I'm coming back and we're doing something incredibly boring like arguing about grain tariffs. With the pack in attendance, Darius said, watching Tyrion and Hannah with amusement. They're not going to want to let you out of their sight now. Good. She reached back for the laces. Darius moved automatically to help, fingers deft. The gesture was practiced, familiar, and deeply intimate. Hannah made a soft, approving sound. When he finished, Willow turned. Thank you. His hand stilled on her shoulders. For what? For waiting, for remembering, for not hating me when I forgot. I could never hate you. He glanced at the wolves. Neither could they. We tried once, year 43. Lasted about 3 hours before we gave up. What changed your mind? You asked if I had spare bread because you'd given yours to a stray dog. His mouth quirked. Even when you didn't know me, you were still you. Her eyes burned. I'm going to be a mess for a while. I know. We all know. He gestured at Tyrion and Hannah. That's why you're getting an escort. I'm going to wake up crying and not know which life I'm mourning. They'll be there. I'm going to call you by the wrong name at least once. He smiled. I've been called worse. She crossed to him and took his face in both hands. Tyrion and Hannah pressed close, pack bond humming between all of them. I don't deserve this, she whispered. Deserve you. Deserve them. You paid for us with a century of your life, he said. For me, my wolf, my pack, every wolf and human in this kingdom. I think we're even. She kissed him, hard and quick. Tyrion and Hannah moved closer, and she reached out to touch them both, one hand in fur, one hand on Darius's chest. Pack, mate, hers. 1 month, she said. 2 at most. Then I'm coming back. We'll be waiting, Darius said, then softer. We're good at waiting. No more waiting, she said. That's done. This is just temporarily being somewhere else while my pack guards me. Tyrion and Hannah's tails wagged in unison. Orith coughed. The court. Alpha. Darius sighed and offered Willow his arm. Tyrion and Hannah fell into step beside them as they left the room. Behind them, dawnlight filled the space. Outside, snow had stopped. The sky was clear and bright. In the courtyard below, no frost remained. Just cobblestones and wolves and humans beginning their day together. Willow looked out the window as they passed and thought, this is mine now. All of it. Him, his wolf, his pack. The messy, complicated, beautiful middle of it. For the first time in 100 years, or perhaps for the first time ever, she felt whole. Chapter 8. 2 months later, the carriage rolled through Avalon's gates on a clear winter afternoon. Willow stepped down before it fully stopped, and 2 massive wolves leaped out behind her, Tyrion and Hannah, who'd become her shadows in Carthian. Darius was already striding across the courtyard in human form. No cloak, just shirt sleeves, despite the cold. He looked lighter than he had at Christmas, younger, like a century of weight had lifted. Behind him, more wolves emerged from the castle, the pack, coming to welcome their alpha's mate home. You're early, Darius called. I'm exactly on time. She met him halfway, Tyrion and Hannah bounding ahead. You're just impatient. 2 months is a long time. It's 8 weeks, 56 days. His eyes flashed silver. My wolf counted everyone. You counted? She tried to sound incredulous, but warmth spread through her chest. Everyone. He caught her hands. How's your head? Better. I only mixed up lives twice this week. The thief is getting quieter. The Queen still has opinions about your tax policy. She always did. He pulled her closer. Come inside. It's freezing. You're the one who came out without a cloak. I didn't want to wait. Neither did they. The pack had indeed surrounded them, wolves of all sizes pressing close, greeting their returning packmate. Willow laughed and reached out to touch as many as she could, remembering names and faces from 100 different lives. I missed you too, she told them. All of you. A smaller wolf, barely more than a pup, pushed through the crowd and sat directly in front of her, tail wagging hopefully. And who are you? Willow asked. New, Darius said. Born 3 weeks ago. First shift happened yesterday. She's been waiting to meet you. The pup yipped excitedly. Willow crouched down. Hello, little one. I'm Willow. The pup launched herself forward and licked Willow's face enthusiastically. The pack rumbled approval, accepting, welcoming, home. Your court is going to talk, Willow murmured to Darius, as he helped her stand, about the alpha's mate returning with an escort and being greeted by the pack like this. They've been talking for 2 months. Let them. He glanced at her sidelong. Unless you want me to be more proper. Proper, she snorted. You proposed to me in at least 6 different lives. I think we're past proper. 5. The 6th time you proposed to me while holding a sword. Did I? You were drunk and had just won a battle. You decided you wanted to make an honest wolf of me. She elbowed him. Hannah and Tyrion flanked them as they walked toward the castle, the rest of the pack following in a protective, joyful mass. I brought trade agreements, she said, and a proposal for a new river route. Thrilling. And I was thinking. She paused. They stopped in the middle of the courtyard, surrounded by wolves. I could split my time. 6 months in Carthian, 6 here. My steward is competent. The duchy won't fall apart. Darius had gone very still. Around them, the pack went equally quiet, waiting. You want to stay? I want to try." She met his eyes, silver meeting whatever color hers were now. "If you want that, if they want that, if I—" He laughed, incredulous. His form flickered, and for a moment the black wolf showed through, barely contained. "Willow, I've wanted that for a century. We've all wanted that." The pack erupted in howls of agreement. "Then we'll figure it out," she smiled. "We're good at figuring things out, eventually, after several disasters. I can live with disasters. Good, because I'm probably going to cause at least 3 before spring." He kissed her then, in the middle of the courtyard, surrounded by his pack. She kissed him back, one hand in his hair, the other reaching down to touch Hannah's fur. When they broke apart, wolves were yipping and howling, and the few humans watching were cheering. "Welcome home, Alpha's mate," Darius said. "Home." The word settled into her bones, finding space among all the other versions of herself. "Yeah," she said, looking around at the wolves pressing close, at the castle that had been prison and sanctuary, at the man who was both human and wolf, and entirely hers. Welcome home. They walked inside together, hand in hand, wolves streaming around them. Above, the sky was clear and bright. No gods watched, no curses waited. Just an alpha and his mate, a pack that had waited a century, and the messy, ordinary, extraordinary life they were finally free to build together. Tyrion nudged her hand. Hannah pressed against her other side. The pup bounded at her heels. Pack, mate, home. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't simple. But it was theirs. Though an end. Did you feel the weight of 100 lifetimes? Could you choose to remember if it meant carrying that much pain and love? Drop a comment below and let me know. Would you take the memories or choose peace? If you loved this story of love that transcends time itself, hit that like button and subscribe for more epic romance tales. Thanks for watching, and remember, some love stories are worth 100 lifetimes.